So this is the second part of a series of videos, and we're going to cover NURBs modeling tools within this. Before, we looked at a quick introduction to 2021 and the general updates and additions. So let's get right into it. Proportional crayon improvements. We've added these into all of the products, as you can see. And again, it's a perfecting element of the tools. So the crayon option has always been there for the value and shape. We've had those in the last few releases. But now we've added a crayon position, so we can position where the crayon is actually happening along the surface. And that's been added to Skin, Surface Fillet, Multi-Surface Draft, and Freeform Blend. Let's have a look at it in Multi-Surface Draft. So here I've got an example that we've just set up. And I'm just going to go in, query edit this, bring the tool back. And you can see that we've got a crayon value set here. And I can modify that. Nothing changes there. Crayon shape as well, so we can add in extra rows to that to control the shape. Let's just go in a bit closer. And now we've got this crayon position, so I can say it's going to be biased to the front or it's going to be biased to the back. 0 is the middle, so I can bias it forward and backwards when I'm creating this surface. So let's bias it to the front of this edge. Because the additional thing that we add into here is, at the moment, we haven't got any draft angle on, but this will also respect the draft angle with the surface. So now as I add a draft angle in, this moves and modifies to respect the draft angle as well as the crayon at the same time. So some great new options into those 4 tools. So then we'll now look at the next tool, Freeform Blend. Freeform Blend adds a few new options, and the best way to look at this is probably just to go straight into the examples. So here I've got a surface fillet, a freeform fillet already created, and it's displaying what's actually happening in here. And let's turn off the shading for a minute so that you can see what's going on. So here you can see that I've got a theoretical surface that's been connected together. And now I've added in a freeform blend, and I want to modify and control exactly where they're going to sit. So let's take these surfaces, turn on the sections, and just set up that condition so we can clearly see the curvature values on here. So let's scale the comb a little bit, and you can see I haven't got maybe the smoothest transition in here. So maybe I need to increase the samples a little bit to get a better smoothing, and maybe reduce the number of sections, but we'll leave it as it is for now. Go back into the query edit the freeform blend, and you can see now I can either control the slide the parameter in the interface here and have it update. So let's put auto update on, or I can slide it within the actual UI. So I can actually put in a 0.5 value. It doesn't really matter in this case. I think sliding in the interface is much more capable of what we want to do. But you can see here that I've now got a nice flow in there on that line and row. Okay. So the ability to slide the contact points of the freeform blend in on a surface, a freeform fillet when we're creating it. So the next thing continues to look at filleting. Again, it's a perfecting tool, so we're adjusting an existing tool to make it more relevant and better. And if we look at the examples down here, we've got a surface fillet of 2 different examples. Here we've got the original example where we create the surface fillet using curvature, and then you can see the lead-in leads back right down here. And sometimes that's not desirable for product design or small details, where we really want to maintain the radius value more across the center to improve the quality of the product, the look and feel of the product. So here we have the new options. We have now a G2 curvature stroke arc option, both in surface fillet and curve fillet controls. And what does that mean? Well, we're holding the radius value at this point for longer. That improves the quality of the way the fillet looks. We have a tighter lead in, and it means that we really have got good control over that. So have a quick look at that in a rendered example. Here we've got the edge of this drone that Florian Conan's created, and this is the existing original G2 curvature fillet. If I just page down, you'll see that that changes to the curvature fillet with arc. Now if I page back up, you can see the difference. It's tighter and the lead in is a lot nicer, hopefully creating a better look and feel of your products. So let's look at that in the interface. Let's see what that actually does and means. So in here, I've gone into my stage and we've already got a surface fillet created with curvature and arc. So let's query edit this. Bring the tool back, you can see its curvature and arc is set, and I'm going to put on the curvature comb. So we've now got the curvature comb appearing, and you can see that the lead-in is very rapid, but it maintains the radius for a lot longer. And you'll see that in here we've got additional isopalms. To build this, we have to build it with additional controls to control it. Maybe in future the algorithms will improve and we can make that lowest number of span count. One thing to note, in the tool you'll see that when we move to multiple surfaces, we have the option for Bezier. In the interface that doesn't work at the moment, it's not being hooked up. But I can go to my surface edit controls and use the NURBs to Bezier to convert it to Bezier. I will lose the history, but for those with pure Class A kind of workflows, we can still achieve what we need. And in the future, that Bezier option will be live in the tool, so we won't lose history. Let's just turn this off for a second and look at what the curvature comb would have looked like and what the fillet would look like when we rebuild it. You can see here, we've rebuilt the fillet with curvature, and we've got that long lead in, maybe, but with a peak radius rather than a radius that continues, giving a nice quality looking fillet. Let's change it back. So you can see there, that's a really nice addition to the surface fillet tool, enabling us to really control what we're doing. So we move on to the next tool, Extend. The Extend tool is used throughout, lots of different operations for curves, surfaces, and so on. But what we want to look at is another option along edge that we've added, and it's to deal with a lot of situations that you may come across. Here we've got an example where we look at extrapolate and where we compare it with the along edge. Okay, and this is one of the simple things that we're trying to fix with changing and having a different way of algorithm working. So let's go in, use extend, turn on the options, and just start with extrapolate. I'm going to pick this edge, and I'm going to pick and pull that edge. That looks nice and linear and as we would want it. Now, however, if I go on this side and I pull that as well, you see that CVs are moving away and not being as linear. And if I put a curve in between those, you can see there's a clear gap. Not something we want on the secondary extrusion. And that is the problem that one of the problems we're trying to fix. If we now go and look at the object edit tool again, extend, and we turn it on a long edge, now I can pick this edge, pull that out, pull this out, and they work so they are linear. You can see there's no gap between those CVs and the ones that I've just created with the curve. They're exact, which is great. So that's one step and one fix that is really helpful. Let's look at some other examples. So in here you can see we've got a number of things set up again, and I'm going to use this to illustrate a few things, and then we'll probably bring them together to look at them in comparison. Edit, extrapolate again. I'm going to pick this edge, and then I'm going to pull that one, and you can see that we extrapolate that edge and it pulls up the surface, okay? So it's moved up higher, okay? But with along edge, what that does now, if I change to that option, it's moving along the edge and it's kind of trying to pull the shape out without raising the option. So it's a bit like the bi-rail non-proportionally scaling. When we don't want to scale in one axis, it's just pulling it out in this direction without that extra axis. So let's just bring those together to compare them. So this is the original. This is the one we changed. with X-Rail. Excuse me. And you can see I didn't move them exactly the same distance, but you can see the differences. This is the original, this is the along edge, and this is the normal extrapolation. Okay, so another new option to give you capability and control over your surface fillets when you're working. So let's have a look at the final example for extend. Here you can see that we've got linear, extrapolate, and a long edge, and that's basically what we're going to do with each of these to show you what the differences are. So linear. I pull this edge out, I pull that boundary, and I get a linear extension from that point along, but what does it do? It creates me multi-knots, something that's not desirable, and if you've ever been taught Alias by someone, I'm sure they would have pointed that out, because it's not something we really want unless it's for pure visualization. Let's look at the second option, extend. Extrapolate. If I start to modify this, you can see I pull that out in that direction, and the same, I could do that in this direction. Okay. And you can see that actually on this side, it's fairly clear that that is bowing and it's not a straight linear extrapolation. However, when I do it with this side, I do a long edge instead, has the advantage of extrapolate, but it doesn't create any of those problems. So I get a nice clean surface extension with the linear control over it. So that was extend with the new option, a long edge. As well as all these changes, we've also renamed a few things. So surface chain has now been renamed to pick chain. So now when we pick chains, we can actually also not just pick surface chains, but also curves. Or in the tool, we can have it set to both, so we can pick both from within the same tool. Again, you can refine that, put it on your marking menu, and control what you're doing. So the next section that we're going to look at is modeling, and that will be split out to a separate video. So now with modeling, we're going to look at the modeling tools that cross across both of the different products. Stop there because this is